Hey there, welcome back to TingleCon 2022. I'm Nathan ASMR, and we're joined with the fantastic ASMR Destiny. And today we're going to be talking about something super interesting, not only ASMR's Destiny's history and sort of his experience with ASMR, but we're also going to be talking about the future of ASMR and just some 8K and NFTs and things like that. I think it'll be a really interesting conversation. And so, with that all said, why don't we dive right into it? And I'm just going to say one other caveat here. We'll leave the last half of the show here or the panel to discuss the audience questions people have submitted as well. So that should be really interesting. So to begin with, why don't we just talk to the people who may not know your channel? If they were to visit, where could they find you and what could they expect to find?
Yeah, so hey everybody, my name is ASMR Destiny, and I primarily stream on Twitch nowadays, though I've been an ASMR artist since 2013, I believe. So definitely in the early days of ASMR with other OG ASMR artists like Maria, Gentle Whispering, Ali from ASMR Request, and some of the other well-known original ASMR artists. But yeah, I stream on Twitch these days, and so pretty much what you can find on my channel here are just obviously I have a very neon cyberpunk aesthetic, futuristic thing going on. I have I don't know, a million lights in my room right now. But yeah, definitely going for a visual aesthetic, a vibe, and all of my redemptions that I offer, which you can redeem with points. If you know anything about Twitch, they're all very cinematic, and I try to make them very original and just I don't know, just really fun and interesting to look at, as well as be visually, awesome for ASMR, right? So yeah, you can find me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday around 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific, and yeah, hope to see you guys there.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And it is definitely a show to check out. I can attest to that myself because I've watched it many times. So on both the Twitch and YouTube as well. So let's talk about ASMR, just the beginnings, because I think, as you mentioned, you started pretty long ago. That puts you in sort of a class of only a handful of people really at this point. So what really got you into ASMR, especially back then? And then what really led you becoming a creator from just a person who loves it?
Yeah, so I've always lived with having migraines all my life. So ever since I can remember as a little kid, I remember actually getting my first migraine ever. And I was like, what is this? What's going on? And didn't really know what was going on there. And then I figured out that, oh, my mom actually also had migraines. So she kind of passed that down to me. Thanks, Mom. But yeah, I've had a history of that in my family, and growing up, yeah, I just nothing really helped with it, and I just kind of just lived with it. And one day I was like, I wonder if there's any migraine treatments or anything like that out there. So I looked up online, and that's when I stumbled upon Gentle Whispering's one of her videos back in 2013. And then I watched it, and then I realized, wait a minute. First off, besides getting migraines, I've always had ASMR, getting a tingling feeling on my head and getting sleepy and all that. But I never knew what that was called until I watched Maria's video. Like many people who discovered her channel, discovered that, oh, you can make a video that can trigger ASMR. That's awesome. And that, oh, this thing is actually, called something, and it's known, to be very calming and relaxing, and also help with sleep and migraines and all that stuff. So I started watching that, and then about 3 months into watching ASMR, I noticed that I actually didn't get any migraines during that time, and I used to get them like clockwork every month. So for the first time ever, I stopped getting migraines. I was like, holy crap, wait, okay, I didn't eat anything different. I didn't take anything. I didn't do anything different except watching ASMR. So I kept watching, and 6 months into it, I still didn't get a migraine for the first time in my life. So I was like, wow, like this ASMR thing is really powerful and it's actually helped me with my migraines. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to like give back to community out there and help other people and start making my own content. And even like back then, I was really into videography. I was actually heavy into visual effects work. So I was doing like green screen, a lot of green screen stuff back then, even those early days, which was extremely hard to do. Not like as easy as like, one click done, these days. Yeah, this was like yeah, it took hours and hours and hours and hours and like setting up a perfect green screen just to get a decent key out of it. So it was really the rough days back then for that kind of stuff. But so when I went into it, I wanted to bring my experience from working in video to ASMR because back then, right, all the ASMR was like lo-fi, right? Everyone was using whatever camera they had around. There wasn't cell phone cameras. It was just like off the shelf, camcorders and like a lot of it was some of it was like from converted from like tape, and it was just like very lo-fi stuff, and let alone audio equipment. Like back then it was very noisy. It was all over the place, right? Like we didn't really have much unless you had like professional equipment, right, to get like a clean audio. So anybody, I mean, even today, anybody who makes content, depends on the quality of the microphone and the quality of other pieces of your equipment in that audio chain, right? Is going to give you either a very good quality recording, right, or a noisy recording, right? So it still happens today, but it's a lot easier for people to get into it these days and actually record something very high quality. So basically, when I went into it, I was like, okay, I wanted to record something without any background noise. So I wanted to do something different, right? So I wanted to record audio with no background noise at all. So I really focused on getting just a really quiet recording, and recording is like right next to your ear, so that it sounded like I was really there. And so my early stuff was just audio. I didn't have any video. Well, I didn't want to do video at that time because I felt like, well, if I was a guy doing it, I probably wouldn't get many hits, many views compared to like a female ASMR artist and all that kind of stuff. But so I was like, okay, I'll just leave that up to if, like like your imagination if I'm a guy or a girl, and then just record the audio right first. Um, and so my first video was just an audio recording, and I think it still sounds pretty good to this day. I worked really hard throughout those early years to like perfect like no noise recordings and all that stuff. And then eventually I showed my face because eventually you just need to do that and become a person,
Absolutely.
on YouTube. So that's pretty much how I started.
I had no idea actually that you were audio only first. I guess that's kind of the
Yeah.
beginning for a lot of people. My first was also like that kind of audio
Oh, really?
recording. Okay, yeah, so I feel you on that. Okay,
Yeah.
so that answers kind of a lot of this. So why don't we jump into why don't we jump into the technology aspect, and then I'll ask you about VTubing, because I think that's like a pretty emerging new technology, and I know you have some pretty cool stuff to say about that.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I'm going to ask you something kind of abstract. What do you think is the relationship between technology and ASMR? I mean, you mentioned the background noise and the hiss, but do you think does technology improve ASMR? Does it? I mean, what do you think is what's the intersection there? Because it does seem to
Yeah.
be really tied together there.
Yeah. So there's a couple ways that we can look at this. So first off, technology, especially during and after the pandemic happened, really advanced technology, right? We've always been on this like curve of advancement, but then there hasn't really been like a huge jump until the pandemic happened. And that kind of like forced technology to kind of evolve, right? Internet speeds and internet connection had to get better, right? Everyone's working from home, right? Video cameras, like even webcams, were sold out like around the world, right? Because everyone's working from home. And so like new cameras had to be made and more of them. And like all of this, like all aspects of technology had to advance instead of just like this slow kind of curve, which under normal circumstances we would just be on this like normal advancement curve, slowly getting better and better every year. But but with that, it actually gave people the it actually forced people to be more creative at home, right? Through a crisis, right? Unfortunately, it took a crisis, for this to happen. I wish it would have just happened normally. Um, but unfortunately, it took something like a global crisis to kind of like um, advance technology, but it actually allowed so many more people to get into the creator space on all platforms, TikTok and whatever, and and so it gives people more access first off to technology that they need to make this kind of stuff, and it also forces the companies that make these apps to make them easier for people to use and more accessible. So yeah, definitely, tech plays a huge part in allowing people to access these tools to make what they want to make, right, and be creative. Um, Also, for me, one of the other reasons why I wanted to get into it was to utilize tech for ASMR just in cool ways. In the past, I've used VR to create like inside of VR. There was this one program where you can actually paint something like Bob Ross, right? Like a 3D painting, but it was really cool because you could paint that first, right? And you could record that first person. But then in the same program, I could be a third person camera and I could watch myself play back a
Oh wow,
recording. And that's actually what I
that's
did
cool.
on my channel is I had a first person and third person camera view
Wow.
of that painting, which was really cool to do. And that was like way back, that was years and years ago. Um, and then with AR technology coming out, I actually hope
Wow.
to
Yeah, I
get
didn't think about that.
yeah, I actually hope to get my first pair of like legit AR glasses here in a few months and start
Wow.
messing with that and seeing if there's any way that I could utilize ASMR, for that.
Wow. Yeah.
Because AR is definitely coming out quickly. It's all these companies are trying to make AR glasses. Is just fitting all that electronics inside of a little pair of shades, and that's the hard part,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but that's coming.
I have seen some research. I think it was a couple of days ago about there is, I forget the name of the university, but they did manage to, I think there are cords coming out of it, but they did manage to get glasses formed like that size with the, with the graphics and everything. It's just
Mm,
that there's like these cords hanging out. So I guess that's obviously something they'll figure out. But like you said, it definitely seems inevitable right now.
yeah.
Assuming that we don't blow ourselves up before that. Anyway,
Right.
that's
Right.
something completely different. But yeah, and that's just fascinating. And one thing that always blew my mind was always just, I mean, without technology, ASMR, I mean, it existed in the real world in the sense that you might experience it in your day to day, but it kind of formalized that relationship to allow the ASMR creator to even exist, because without YouTube and the internet itself, you couldn't really like in with music or paintings, there are art galleries and there are people just playing music at the bar, but ASMR didn't really even have a platform to exist before the technology enabled it in a way. So it
Right.
seems like such a relation, it's just you can't separate them in a way. um and so let's actually move on from there because it just, again, it seems like it's such an essential thing. But why don't you talk to us about VTubing? Because again, I think this is another aspect that a lot of people are interested in. And you mentioned AR and VR, and could you tell people what VTubing is and just kind of how maybe you got into it, how like just very simplistically again, because I
Yeah.
know the creation is like next level, very difficult to understand. So could you maybe just elaborate on that for some people who don't know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So VTubing is basically like virtual YouTubing, where you're an avatar of some kind, not IRL, and you're basically either talking or like presenting something, or just being a persona, right? Just a normal persona, like on YouTube or at Twitch, and it a lot of times people will use like anime style like avatars. That's like the most popular kind, and oh my gosh, they're like super huge on on Twitch, like live streaming with them. There's a lot of really just huge streamers that utilize VTubing um, and are very successful at that. And um, so being in VR already, I've been like I've played like social apps that where you could like be an avatar and like socialize, right? Um, so with that kind of experience, I was like, you know what, I really would like to try that for myself, and like for me, it was more like just kind of like to mix up the stream. Um, with a lot of VTubers, they do it because they have some kind of like social anxiety, or they're shy about showing their face, or don't want to reveal themselves, for like whatever reason. Um, and so actually VTubing also helps them to be a creator, where normally they probably would be like scared out of their mind if they were showing their real face, right? And so actually VTubing gives a lot of people that have like social anxiety, um, or maybe just whatever thing that maybe they don't like about themselves, right? A way to hide that and get over that, and also have themselves be put out there and form a community, right? So it's a really awesome way for those people to also be creators.
That's
For
fascinating.
me,
That's really
for me,
interesting.
since I was like for me, like I was already showing my face, I'm already streaming like this, so it was a way for me to try something different, right, with my streams. So on the weekends, I usually stream like this, IRL, but then on weekdays, I do ASMR gaming, and that's when I'm in my VTuber form. And I originally looked
Oh,
like
there it is.
this.
There it is. That's awesome.
And
Oh,
this
wow.
was actually like the highest end VTuber thing you could do. It's running
Wow.
in Unreal Engine. It's the
Oh,
same
wow.
program that game developers use to make games. Some of the very top, most technically complex VTubers use Unreal Engine, and they are like rendering in real time. They're making in real time like avatars like this. Um,
Wow. Are you wearing a
and
suit there of some sort? Are you wearing a suit?
yeah,
Some like
yeah,
haptics
yes.
of some sort?
So on the far side with me, you can see I'm actually wearing a full body motion capture suit, the same kind of motion capture
Wow.
suit that they use to capture animations for movies and film.
Yeah.
and
Wow.
and yeah, it will do like the full tracking with the fingers and your entire body actually. And then I have a helmet with an iPhone on the end of it, and I
iPhone. Okay.
yeah, so iPhone actually has one of the best facial tracking technology, because of the whole
Wow.
like facial biometrics. And so
Yeah.
actually iPhones, yeah, are like the top way to capture like facial performance, right? Facial
Oh,
capture.
wow.
Um,
That's amazing.
and then right below me, you'll see like a little skeleton, and that's actually my data going into the motion capture program before it hits Unreal, which is the end result here with
Do you
my
have any
avatar.
external sensors anywhere that are capturing your
No,
moment, or is it all just the suit?
yeah, so basically it's just the suit, every one of the sensors. I'm actually wearing 24 sensors
Oh,
on my
wow.
body, and all of those have to be calibrated and all that stuff, and it's
Mm,
so complex and
yeah.
actually very difficult for a single person to actually do and set up. So I tried a couple streams this way with this avatar, And as cool as it was, um, first off, I was only getting, I was barely getting 30 frames per second with a 3090,
Yeah.
RTX card, top of the line,
Yeah.
NVIDIA card. So
Yeah.
it's very, very heavy on your computer. And plus, trying to calibrate 24 sensors on your body, maybe 3 times a week, and is like super cumbersome, and it and pretty much wasn't able to be sustainable because they all rely on magnetic connections, and I have all sorts of tech around me, and it just like got all the sensors out of whack. Um, so I abandoned that, and instead I am using this technology here.
Oh, wow.
So this
That's
is
so
only
cool.
using this is only using 2 sensors. So it is using my iPhone. So I have an iPhone here in front of me, just off camera, and that's still
Actually, it looks really
capturing.
good too. It's the mouth is
Oh
like
yeah,
pretty good on the, yeah. Whoa, that's amazing.
oh
It's
yeah,
truly amazing.
yeah, and yeah. So the iPhone is just on my table, so I still use that for the facial tracking, and then I'm actually using a little sensor to recognize my fingers and arm movement. And then when I move my arms away, the arms just kind of like, go to my side. So
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
yeah, I
So
don't
you
think it
really, the
does time
creativity is
yet.
the limits.
No.
Can you interact with a virtual environment while you're in there, or is it more just like you got to put the background behind you and
Yeah, so this is way more limited. You can have like a prop. You can have like a prop attached to your hand if
yeah,
you, or
yeah,
like props in your head.
yeah.
But you have to like, set those up in advance, and they're kind of like attached to your avatar. Um, but if you were doing it the other way in Unreal Engine, like you could definitely just like pick up a bottle and it would
Wow,
show
that would
up.
be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and you can like spin in your chair, and the chair would also be tracked in 3D. So I could basically like stand up, walk over, and walk back in the chair and sit, and it would look exactly the same way, you know, on
Wow.
stream. So, yeah, yeah,
You can really
it's
see how, especially once the visuals are, essentially the same as your eyes, how, and maybe with some haptics that it could be almost indistinguishable in a lot of ways, but it will, but in a way it also will, besides the dystopian aspect, but I think
Mhm.
it will open the creative ceiling. But you could just almost do anything you wanted, assuming you could get it to where you could interact with the objects there. And like you said, but I imagine in the
Yeah.
future it'll be easier to do things like that when people have developed the frameworks for those things. But you could just see how. I mean, just imagine in that virtual world, you had 100 things just laying there, whereas in the real world, you have a closet, you can only fit so many things in. And like you said, you can, I mean, look at your avatar, it's just completely different than who you are. So, and
Yeah.
like you said, the social anxiety aspect, I think that's crucial too. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I think that leads me to this point here then, because I think this is kind of, I guess, what I'd be curious to know what you think. Like, what do you see as the future um, of ASMR? I mean, is it going to be a virtual reality AR thing? I mean, maybe that kind of correlates to how everything else is going, but where do you sort of see it going?
Yeah. So obviously, it's going to, I think YouTube, right, is definitely going to still be the future of things, right? YouTube, as much as people say they want to get off of YouTube and just like leave it, and if they did them, dirty somehow in the past, like they just hate it and just right. Any other solution that has tried to replace YouTube just hasn't worked out. Um, Now there are different platforms that are successful, but as far as just like ASMR, and especially if you want to monetize videos, right? It's pretty much the standard platform, and it's gonna be the standard platform for many many years to come, no matter what. Now there are things that flow in, periodically that make things more change it up and more interesting, like when when YouTube introduced 360 videos, um, back in the day, right? It was Jenna Whispering, Maria. No, for Maria from Jenna Whispering, Allie from ASMR Requests, and Heather Feather. They did a one of the first like 360 videos, like ASMR videos together. And that was actually around the same time that I did my first 360 video, which I had to like. I was actually flying to Hong Kong at the time for family, and then I also picked up one of the first 360 cameras on the market over there because it wasn't actually released in the U.S. yet. So I picked it up, and then after I got back, I filmed my video like right after they filmed theirs. And then we actually actually did a collab a bit with Ali from ASMR Request there for a while because she wanted to start up like a network of people who were actually creating this 360 VR content even back in the day, like early on. Um, so yeah, like these little like side, like formats and everything, they're all going to be coming in. Um, I can totally see in VR and especially AR where YouTube would be supporting those platforms after they get more mainstream. And because with AR especially, right, AR is just regular glasses that you can see through, but you have an overlay, you have a graphics overlaid on top, right? So you can still interact with your environment, but maybe you see something on the table, right?
Yeah.
And the idea there is that I could record an ASMR video of myself as like a hologram, and then and then through your AR glasses, let's say you're on YouTube, YouTube AR, let's say, right? And you can say, oh, there's ASMR Destiny's latest video. I'll click on it. And then you could place me as a 3D avatar, right, on the table right
That's so
here,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
And then you could see me do it right here. Or you could even just make me life size. And let's say you're on the couch, I could be sitting next to you. And then you could just like, lay back and just let me
Yeah.
like have these sounds around your ears. And they have that technology actually right now to be able to do that. HoloLens, even early on in the HoloLens life, which was made by Microsoft, that's an AR glasses. They have a game where it's a detective game, and you play the game inside of your house, right? There's like clues around your house, but the NPCs that tell you that you interact with, they interact with your environment too. So like when the detective when another detective wants to tell you something, maybe he'll walk over and sit on your couch,
That's so
like
cool.
actually just go over there, and because they scan your room and know where your couch is and where your walls are, and the NPC will just
Wow.
walk over, sit there, and as you walk around the room, right, they'll be looking at you, like talking to you and stuff too.
That's so cool.
like
That's
like
so
they
cool.
have that. I mean, they have that tech early on, so it's not, it's actually like probably completely doable right now. We just need the actual technology, to make it
Yeah,
happen.
and there's a great article just showing like all the meta headsets that they're working on. I think they released like
Mm.
20 or 30 of these, types. And also Apple, of course, is coming out with their new headset as well. So you never know how that's going to play into the market, but certainly, it's going mainstream, and it just seeing where it's going to go is going to be amazing. And how ASMR fits into that is going to be incredible.
Oh yeah,
We actually
yeah.
have just enough time here now to talk about the audience questions here, because I think they're going to be a couple here, and that should just run us into time here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have about 25 minutes. So here, let me just jump into this. And again, I apologize because I didn't get the names here. So whoever this is, thank you so much for sending this in. I apologize in advance. I did not write that down. I was in a hurry. So yeah, I apologize. But okay, here we go. This one, actually, I do know who this is from. This is from FamCam, our staff. And with the cost of pretty much everything constantly rising, do you ever worry this may significantly stifle the evolution of tech as a whole?
That's a really good question. I think companies, I don't think we're going to be getting to a point where where we're not going to be able to afford stuff. I think there's always going to be room for tech to have like entry level products, right? That are extremely cheap, especially if they're popular, right? These products are going to be created, for the mass market. They're going to be, millions of these units are going to be created. So the cost for the companies are gonna be reasonable, right? They're not gonna, unless something like major happens with the economy, or something,
Yeah.
or like Skynet becomes sentient, and we're in like an apocalypse or something post
I mean, it is
apocalyptic thing,
2022. You never know. You
but
never know. And you never know.
yeah, yeah. So bearing any apocalyptic event, I think it's safe to say like tech is gonna still gonna be affordable, for the foreseeable future, unless there's some global crisis, that happens, and and with any kind of pieces of tech, prices are going to be going down and down and down, as more competition enters the market. So hopefully there'll be competition for these things actually, because companies don't like competition, but yeah, hopefully there'll be, with these AR glasses and stuff, hopefully more other companies will make them, at least in this case, and prices will come down, because we all know they're going to be pretty expensive.
Yep. And of course, you see GPU costs. They were up so high for so long, and
yes,
very
yeah,
quickly they've come down. So you never know how these things will play out, and maybe they'll work
yeah,
out to the advantage of the consumer.
yeah.
Okay. So the next question we have here is, how many pairs of fancy glasses do you, I think they mean fancy as in like what you're wearing now. Fancy glass. How many pairs of fancy glasses do you own, and which one is your favorite at the moment?
Yeah, so I got a picture here, of just
Oh,
my
wow.
just
That's
my
awesome.
messy glasses rack. um, this is probably only like 75% of what I got right now.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I love wearing all sorts of different kind of glasses on stream, especially ones that light up. Um, I and yeah, so like this is one that is really cool,
That is so
that
cool. Yeah.
that it just does some interesting effects here. So I actually use this
Fantastic.
one on stream. Pow. uh, but yeah, I would say this visor is one that gets actually the most compliments. Um, and it's like a lot of times people don't even know what to call it. It's like, that's really cool thing on your face. Like, I'm like,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yeah. It's hard to find out how
Yeah,
to shop for those things, right? You don't even know what to call them, those kind of things.
that's right.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're moving on to the next question here. And that is, okay, this is an interesting one here. This is from Kyokin, who asks, what are the I think they're kind of keeping in mind that you have a pretty interesting setup there with your lighting, but let's say they want to do something kind of cool with their lighting. What are the essential lights that they need to own when putting together like a new setup like that?
Yeah, so obviously, like everyone's setup is different, everyone's room is different, right? So if you want to get more, creative with your setup, for stream, definitely think about, first off, your own lighting. So I have a couple Elgato panels up here, actually, on each side, and so I can just press a button and I can turn on one over here, and I can turn my other one, and so that gives you some nice front lighting first. So yeah, Elgato has really stepped up
Yeah,
their game, offering up a bunch more things for streamers, and they have smaller panels and larger panels, so that's really nice for just normal lighting. And then of course LED and strip lighting, like, all have like exploded over the years in terms of popularity and variation. And so there's of course, like, panels you can stick on the wall that are RGB, that can change different colors, and all these lights. Some of them are just you turn it on and then they glow, but then if you want to pay a little bit more, like between, I think it's like 60 and $100, you can get some that are like Wi-Fi enabled, and you can control them from your phone. All of my lights I can control from my phone. So all of these
That's fantastic.
are different kinds of lights setups here. So I can change it to
Oh, wow.
green, right, instantly, or I can just do nice. I got like a blue purple
That's nice.
scheme there, and then you can make them move around. They're all synced up, and they can all move. Um, so if you want to get fancy like that, you definitely can. If just buy the same brand. Obviously, there's different brands that do kind of these similar things, like Philips. Like Philips Hue, I think is a very popular brand for some RGB lighting. So, yeah, just kind of like get your basics up set up first, and then kind of like build from there. Like all of this took years. It took at least like a year and a half to kind of like build most of this out. So
Yeah,
it's more like adding a piece at a time and then evaluating, like how much more you want to spend, or first off, like how much money do you want to spend on it, and then adding on and just building it out. So other
absolutely.
people though use green screens as well. So I'm fortunate to have. I actually redid my entire room just for streaming, but a lot of people just use green screens. And then you can just easily replace the background on your green screen, right? So that can be another option. You just have to light up yourself, pretty evenly as you can, and that's all you got to do. And then you can just change out your backgrounds.
Also, I will personally vouch for those devooms you have in the back, the little boxes. Those things are reasonably priced and they're amazing. I have two, but they're hidden behind my screen there. But
Oh,
this
okay.
little screen there. But yeah, I've got two of them myself. They're very, very nice.
So
Add a lot of character.
I got the Twitch logo and the TingleCon logo here
Love that.
on
Oh,
the
nice.
on all these. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yep.
We love that. We love that. Oh, okay. So
Yep.
so we have we got about 15 minutes left. And I think you're gonna have some opinions on these last ones. So actually, this is a good one. This is from my boss, actually, whose channel's David's been here, and he has been doing 4K since the early days of YouTube. He does like food and travel stuff. So
Hmm.
it's not necessarily related, but in this sense, he's wondering what's a good entry point for an 8K camera, because I think you've been doing that for a really long time. I'm wondering, do you have any recommendations for anybody who, I mean, because unfortunately 4K now is like starting to age, and we're moving into the
Yeah.
era of more. So yeah, do you have any recommendations on just 8K filming, or for people who want to just take that extra step? But how would they get into that? Or
Yeah.
even having a
So
computer to having a computer
yeah.
to run it, that too.
Yeah, computer aside, just talking cameras first off. Yeah, I I've always, after I actually started filming ASMR YouTube videos, I started in 4K. Like back, I think it was like 2014. I think it was like the year later that I started doing 4K, which was like nobody was doing that at that time
Yeah.
almost. And so and then I kept on advancing that, and finally I bought my dream camera, which was the Red
Oh,
Epic
wow. That's
W.
beautiful. Yeah, that is
So
amazing.
So this is the Hollywood, one of two Hollywood cameras brands that they use for Hollywood and TV shows,
Yeah.
Red and Ari, and yeah, basically like any TV show on that you've watched is shot with Red, um,
Yeah.
and finally got one of these guys, and that shoots native 8K video, but it is a very obviously complex system, very expensive system, and not generally used for YouTube. um, but it was my dream camera, and I wanted to get into it, and I wanted to shoot 8K. And everyone's like, why shoot 8K? Like, why did I even want to do it? Like it was like 3 or 4 years ago, something like that I started. And the reason is because, well, first off, when you get a camera on that level or anything even close to it, right? The camera itself is just going to be better than anything else. Like it's going to
Yeah.
look better. The sensor is going to be better, right? The dynamic range is going to be better. And so you just get a better image in general,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Regardless of the resolution, forget resolution, just the image is going to look better, and it's going to shoot in RAW mode. So if anybody's familiar with photos and taking JPEGs and having raw images, to edit it. These cameras shoot in raw mode as well, so you can have huge flexibility in editing, in post and all that stuff. So for color and color correction and color grading, all that stuff. So the image will be better. And then you have the resolution on top of that, which is awesome because you get way sharper quality, obviously. And it'll shoot 8K in native. But then when you shrink that down to 4K, it's an even better 4K image, right? Downsampling anything is always better, right? So but then, so yeah, that came out, obviously a long time ago. Actually, Red is always focused on resolution, so they really had 4K. I mean, they had 4K cameras. They were the first ones in the market to have 4K, like a long time ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they made the first 4K digital camera when Hollywood was just like all film. And so that's how Red started. They were like, yeah, we want to go digital and we want to have resolution. So that was kind of like their focus.
That's really cool. Are there more consumer level 8K cameras at this point, or are they all like those big?
Yeah, so I would say if you wanted to start making stuff in 8K or just resizing stuff into 8K, I would say you don't really need a native 8K camera right now, because if you can shoot with a camera with a little bit lower resolution, but it still shoots raw, then you can just upscale that to 8K. And it may not even need a sharpening filter. Usually when you upscale something, it gets a little bit blurry, but in this case, there's a company called Blackmagic Design, and that's actually what I'm shooting with right now. So I'm shooting with two Blackmagic Design cameras, and they're both 6K cameras. And I believe they cost only around $2,000 to get a 6K camera, and these cameras shoot raw mode as well. So they give you that raw mode for that huge flexibility in editing, and they're very, very sharp. So upscaling them to 8K definitely is a possibility if you really need that resolution. So I think Blackmagic is a really good middle ground for like if you want something better than 4K, right? Which is obviously like everybody can shoot 4K with anything these days, right? And you want that power of like a higher end like Hollywood camera by shooting in raw mode, right? And Blackmagic is awesome because their prices are like way lower than what they should be. Like $2,000 for a 6K camera that can shoot raw, like that's a steal. Like really in there's DSLRs that cost that much and they don't shoot in raw mode. So yeah. So yeah, I would definitely recommend looking into Blackmagic for that. And there are other options, like there's even phones right now that shoot 8K, but they have extreme limitations. Don't even think that's gonna be acceptable for like a client project or anything like that. So
they do say that the image quality of those phones though will eventually catch up or perhaps surpass. I'm still skeptical, but similarly, like you can see the 8K revolution at least in that new generation of iPhone and everything. I think the 14 is coming out relatively soon, but I don't know if it does 8K. But you can see it sort of happening, that maybe that will be a good entry point for somebody who wants to get into it but can't throw down on a pretty expensive rig. And this actually leads me into my next question, because I think this is probably one of the most important questions, really, because again, we have probably just about 10 minutes. So I think this is probably the most important one. So it may actually be the last one, because I think you might have a lot to say about this. But can you talk a little bit about what does somebody need to buy to start out a channel? Because a lot of the people watching are either have a channel or are thinking about a channel, or there's definitely a lot of ASM artists. I think that's probably the primary viewer of TingleCon. And so what do they really need to get going? Do they need all those tech gadgets? I mean, even though you are a person who's into technology, you've been around for a while, so you've honed in on some of the more basics as well. What's some good starting gear? And do you think it's like it's necessary, or what do you kind of, what would you say to somebody who's pretty new?
Yeah, so obviously, I think the first entry point for, I would think almost anyone would be their phone, right? Obviously, everyone's going to have a phone, a smartphone, and they can just go live directly from that, actually. So you can go live, from the phone, don't need anything extra. Obviously, it's just going to be you in the video, right? You're not going to have any overlays or anything, but if you want to just like start doing something and like recording videos and uploading, or even going just live on Twitch, you can do that straight from the phone right now with the apps. And so that's really great. That again, that gives anybody an easy entry point, right? A stepping stone into the world of streaming or making videos that way. And then when you want to get, take that next level, right, and actually start maybe producing the videos in a more complex fashion, then you can change to maybe getting a standalone video camera, and maybe a microphone and maybe some lighting, and then start editing on your laptop, right? Or if you have a desktop PC or a Mac, right, you can edit, bring the video into those machines, and then edit in an editing program. There's free editing programs out there too. You don't have to use the more expensive ones. And so there's a lot of really great free options for editing and making really good content out there these days. And yeah, obviously there isn't this mindset where it's like, oh, I gotta have that awesome camera, or I gotta have that awesome mic, right? Or that awesome lighting and stuff like that, right? And to make to make stuff, and it really doesn't, it's not really that, right? It's if it was like, it may be weird to me, for me saying this, but if it was really that, then I would have like 1 million subs right now, right? And I don't have 1 million subs, so um, so yeah, it's definitely not the lighting or the mic or the camera, or anything like that, right? You can just stream with the basic stuff, and you may go viral, or you may just be a hit with with the YouTube algorithm, which is always like a roll of the dice. Like no one really knows who's going to be big, or just how the algorithm is going to affect people. But yeah, it's just, I would say, just get yourself out there and start doing it, no matter what you have at first. And then if you actually like doing it, because you also got to like doing it. You have to. It's a grind. To be able to have to go live on a schedule, if you can, multiple times a week, or making videos, recording videos multiple times a week. It's like a second job. It's basically a job, and you have to enjoy that. Otherwise, you're going to get burned out, or you're going to feel like that it's a job that you don't like, right? So you definitely have to like it, but just go ahead and get started trying out. Set a schedule for yourself, make the videos, get the content out there. If you're on YouTube, make sure you reply back to people's comments all the time. I see so many videos, I see so many channels that don't do that. They don't interact with their viewers in the comment section, which just kind of blows my mind. Why they don't even like or heart their comments, right? It's just kind of like shows that you've actually seen their comment and noticed them, right? So so definitely interact with your viewers, and then like on Twitch, if you do live streams, obviously interacting with your viewers is essential. Greeting them, and just kind of like just having fun with chat. If you play games, right, there's ways that you can actually have chat affect your game, to interact with your game, or have you do things like in game, which is really awesome interactivity that way, for live streaming. So yeah, there's if you, whatever platform you use, make sure you just read up a lot on like what are the ways that I can maximize my potential, right, on those platforms, how to utilize those platforms in the best way possible, to interact with your viewers and grow a community, right? Because once you start growing your community and make a community, then it's just going to keep growing after that, right? I mean, it's all about community with all of these different platforms, right? People that like to, watch you, like to interact with you, like to watch your content, and be with other people that are there that also like you, right? So yeah,
And
it's a big, it's a it's a it's a lot of information. So like definitely go to YouTube and watch tutorials on how to set up all this stuff, and yeah, just try it out and evaluate it and see if you want to like actually do it, or if it's something, maybe it's too much for you. But I think at least just try it out and see where it goes.
I also think it's important to like you did say this earlier, but it is kind of a marathon, not a sprint. It's like there's so many different pieces to put together. Like you said, it took you just a year and a half to put together your with lighting and setup in the back there. So I mean, those things just all take a lot of time and investment
Mm.
and saving to get the stuff that you need. Like you're not just going to overnight have the quality of GB. You know what I mean? Like those people
Right.
have put in the time and effort to get all the right pieces, and so that can be a really daunting process. But again, it's something, just be patient and everything will come into place. Like you said, you get that, start with the good lights in the front, the Elgato, then maybe you move on to a better camera like a Black Magic, then you do this and that. So that's really important. We have a few more minutes, and I want to actually just end on this one last question, because I think it'd kind of be nice to tie this around to your channel. And could you just tell us real quick in a couple moments here, like we have 5 minutes left, so just tell us your favorite video that you've done, and why, and what's another one that you didn't really like that much.
Yeah, so with my YouTube channel, I never really wanted to do any of the standard ASMR stuff. So only if I felt like my views were kind of like down would I'm going to do an ear cleaning now, like just to get some views. But I've always been more like wanting to do creative things with it, right? Different kind of things. And so instead of just like the standard ASMR sounds. So one of them was basically like doing hand movements. I think it was with my fans. So a popular sound is like fan sounds on the mic, and I filmed it in one way with a bunch of like really cool lights in the background, and then actually when I edited it together, it became something completely different in the edit, which was amazing. Um, I, I don't have it here to show, but it's called the multi-dimensional like ASMR or something like that.
Cool.
And it's pretty trippy because the background lights look like they were actually created that way, but they're all in like really weird shapes that are pretty much impossible. And yeah, so visually, I was like really proud of that video, even though when I was shooting it at the time, I was like, this doesn't really feel too good. Um, and
That's really
then
cool.
for like pretty much for a video that could have been better. So I don't actually do a lot of green screen videos. And um, I feel like those are harder to kind of like pull off in the way that I want, because it's like, oh, I really want this. I've always wanted like Hollywood quality. So I'm all about just that quality. So it's if so I don't really want to touch visual effects too much in my video. So I try to do things for real. So I have a Blade Runner video, a Blade Runner 2049 video that was me pretending I was like flying around the city in Blade Runner, and that I actually had to use a green screen for, and took me forever to pull it off. but it actually turned out really, really well. And I actually utilized the VR in it as well for the first person view.
Oh,
I
wow.
would I would cut to myself like driving, like flying this like flying car, and then I would cut to like a first person view, but it's actually me looking out in VR and just pretending I'm looking around the cockpit.
That's cool.
Um,
That's really cool.
so it was really cool, and it was so awesome because I got to collab with Charlotte ASMR. I think her old name
Whispers
was like
Audio.
Fairy Char, Fairy
Oh, Fairy
Char
Char.
ASMR.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I actually asked her
fantastic.
to be the voice of Joy from the new movie, uh, and she accepted. So like
Oh,
she
wow.
also said some things to me like like in the video.
Nice.
So that was, yeah, that was really cool.
That's really
Um,
cool. Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, listen, that was fantastic. Wow. I was blown away. I was like, I have so many questions about so many of these technological devices. So with that all said, I just want to say thank you so much. I It was really interesting. I'm sure that a lot of ASM artists and just fans in general have a lot to learn there. There's just so many interesting things. If anyone wants to find your channel, it's ASMR Destiny. You could find him on YouTube. And with that all said, thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next panel.
Bye.